Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Long Pamai, and in today's video, I'll demonstrate all functionalities released in the premium version of Google API's VBA library. If you're new to this library, it's a bridging solutions that helps integrate Office applications with Google Sheets and Google Drive using VBA. It's a super fast technology and it's highly scalable, enabling VBA developers to leverage cloud solutions in VBA Project itself. At the moment, it is running at the limited launch offer, so do not forget to check out the video description for the link. And if you are interested to develop such solutions, you should definitely check out the API playlist within the channel. Before we begin, there are many new contents lineup, so if you haven't, please do not forget to subscribe for latest updates and also to support the channel. For the sake of time, I'm skipping the creation of Google Cloud Project, but if you're not familiar, please check out these two prior videos for detailed walkthrough, and please do let me know if you have any questions. Here's a quick comparison of both the versions. Let me highlight some of the main key differences, and then we'll continue with the demonstration. So first, looking at the Google Drive side, the first two lines here for Sheets as well as for Drive, like it's very simplified to now set up the connection or service and then terminate it. So for example, if you look at this one, you just need to start a service, call the method. For example, this one call the method for creating the folder. So create folder, and you simply mention the folder you want to create, and then you terminate the service. So it's very simplified for both Sheets and as well as for Drive. As you can see, here are some basic functionalities. If your requirement is basic, you can continue to use the free version. It does not have an expiry date. So creating the folder and all this are still, will be available with the free version. But if you look down here as to upload and download and updating file, this is a new feature that has been added. You'll be able to monitor the progress as it progress, like uploads or download. You'll be able to see it. At the moment, with the basic, it runs at background. You don't know when the upload is completed or download has been completed, so it's a little bit difficult. Okay, and then there are new features like moving. You can move the file or folder from one location to another. Listing files and folders with the premium version is really advanced. You can query all the files, be in thousands. At the moment, the default or maximum is 100 for free version. And then you can get more attributes about the file information. You can run queries as well. You can list multiple pages as well. Okay, you can look up, like the name, the ID using the name. And then, this is also new. You can give permission to user, domain, or anyone, read, write, etc. And then you can get the list of permissions. You can delete the permissions and grant permissions, etc. Major enhancement has been done on the Google Sheets, as you can see here. Especially the part I want to highlight is this area. So first of all, the simple ones like clearing the data, deleting rows and columns, retrieving the data at the moment just simply retrieves all the data irrespective of how it is saved at the source. It retrieves in string. So if you have a number saved, you have to reconvert those numbers to, from text to number data type. Whereas with new retrieve functionalities, you can retrieve, like millions of records, single go, and then you'll get the source data type. And then with the here appending the data or adding the data to Google Sheets at the moment is just single row or like multiple string data. You cannot specify more data types other than string. And then whereas with the premium version, updating the range and appending the data, you can utilize the maximum quota available to to the user. So you can upload be it in millions using multiple data types, multiple dimension. It's not just one row or one column. Rather, it's like you can upload the entire sheet as long as it's lesser than 5 million, which is 5 million cells is the limit in Google Sheets. And then you'll be able to upload multiple data like dates and so on, dates, numbers, Boolean, and string and so. And then updating the range, you can update the data. Let's say you pull in the data, you update certain data set and you want to write it back. You can do that. If you have specific cells that you want to update to, you can also use this function. So I'll demonstrate in a bit. And coming here to the connection part, basically this part is you'll be able to get the process stats, like if it is uploading, how much has been uploaded and so on. You'll be able to get logs. The library does not save any data or capture any data from the user. It just captures it for the session. Once you restart, then all the logs are gone. So if you have to save it, then you'll have to save it after you retrieve the logs manually, or you can write additional code to export it. And then this is new, so you'll be now able to connect to start the service using the client keys, which was just a file earlier. And then as far as connecting using the credential file, you can use JSON file p12 for service account as well as for authentication. Okay, so that's pretty much on the feature. I'm gonna close this file now, and then here is the blank Google Drive, which we'll be utilizing for demonstration. These two images are shared files. Let me go to this folder and run. So based on your Excel or Office, wherever you'll be using this library, be it Access Database, Excel, Word document, and so on. First, identify what is your Office bit. So mine is 64 here, so I went to File, Account, and this is how you can identify if you are 32-bit or 64-bit. Okay, and based on that, you install this library for yourself. Okay, so mine is 64, so I'm gonna go here. You can run either of them. I'm gonna run the setup. If you already have the free version installed, or uninstall that first and then install this version. Okay. Go through the user license agreement. It's important. And then once you are comfortable, agree, and then you install this. Just note this spot. This is where we'll be adding a reference to our VBA project. Okay, and install. Next. Okay, so the installation has been completed. Now I'm going to go back. You'll get all these sample files and the codes to get started. First of all, after you create a project, for me, what I've done here is I created a Google Cloud project, and then I've created a folder called Google Project. Here I put in all the files. This is the user credential file or the authentication. This is just information. This is service account, JSON service account p12. So you can save down and then you can share your project files with your users who are going to be utilizing those projects. Yep, save this down, and then now I'm going to start up the sample code file. Okay, first of all, go to your developer Alt F11 and then go to your reference and browse to that folder where you installed the library, and then select the TLB file and click on open. Then you'll see something like this has been checked. Click on OK. So first thing what you need to do is go to validate license, add your license key here. Okay, add your license key here, and then just run this code. Just click anywhere within this and run this. Then you'll get a response once the license has been validated. So license is active and then token has been saved. Okay, so that's the start. First of all, we'll quickly go through Google Drive part, and then I'll demonstrate the sheets. To start off, I'm gonna delete the existing token, okay, so that we can start from the beginning. Okay, so once your license has been validated, you can go to Google Service _ setup module. Here you can use this module to set up connections. It has basically here it has a Drive service initialize and terminate, and then Google Sheet service initialize and terminate as well. At the top, you'll see two public object variables, which you can replicate more if you want more services, different type of connections, you can do so. Here is the authentication using JSON file. For example, I'm saying that I'll be using this particular file. Yeah. So from this particular this workbook.path and then this particular folder and then this. So if you want, you can simply take the path and replace this like this as well. It's okay. Yeah. So coming back here, you can update the service, account path as well for JSON P12 if you're going to use that. And then you can set up a connection, multiple connections based on that as well. This is where the token is going to be saved. And then, yeah, token is saved so that, like it does not authenticate or, ask for users permission all the time. Rather, it reuse the token again and again till it expires. And then if you're planning to use the client ID and secret instead of the file, then you simply go and update these variables here. Okay. And then here is where the connection setup is happening. So when the drive initialize is called, basically it uses this method to create a connection. It passes this parameter drive and then uses this file, which is this file, yeah. And then this the account type is user, and then since this is not service account, you can ignore this. And then this is the location, token location, which is this, yeah. So similarly, if this drive connection is going to use the client ID or secret, you can just comment this out and you can use this, or you can replicate this block, for example, and create a whole new, different one called maybe client keys, something like that. And then you can use this to connect using client keys. And then if you want, you can have more, more of these objects created like this, something like that. And then you can mix, like drive and sheet service as well. You can start up like this. Okay, so this is just not this one, but here like this. So I'm gonna leave this as a sample, but I'm not gonna use this. So similarly for the Google Sheets as well, you can set up by tagging this user and then token location and then the file. Okay, and then this is basically just to clean the memory or terminate the service. Okay, so that's pretty much from the setup of the credentials. Now let's first quickly try Google Drive methods, which are much more simpler to use, and then we'll head on to the Sheets functions and methods. Okay, so first, if you call this, it's basically going to return you the library name, the version, and the build. Okay, so in the future, if there are updates, you'll be able to verify using this. And now first, let's create a dummy folder first and see. I'm gonna simply name this dummy. So this one is gonna call the service. So the first time is gonna ask you to select the Google account you want to use for this, for the project. And then this is basically a public variable, which is gonna, be reused many times. And then this particular, is basically gonna use the drive service to create a folder. And then this is the folder name, which is this variable here. And then once this is done, we'll send a create folder request, and then this will basically terminate, disconnect the service. And then it'll print the request information. Okay, so let's give it a try. Okay, so first time, select the Google account you want to associate with this, and then advance, and then continue. So if you verify your Google Cloud project, you will not get this prompt, but this okay to proceed. Once you're here, click on allow and allow, which will basically give permission to this particular project. Okay, so here's a dummy folder we just created from the VBA project. So now let's say that we want to create a folder called data. So this is the ID of the folder that just got created, and then this is the data. And within this data, let's create a few folders. Let's call expense data, and then we'll have this expense data under the parent folder ID. So this is a new method again. This will basically return the object ID, lookup object ID using the name. Yeah. So if I run this now, it will basically return this data folder ID. Yeah. So instead of specifying the code, which you can do like this, but still you can specify in this method as well, which is much more easier to do instead of the code. Okay, so coming down here, drive service, create a subfolder. This is the parent folder ID, and then this is a new folder name that we want to create. Okay. Now we run. So this is a new folder ID, and then if we go here within data, you'll see a subfolder called expense data. And now let's create a folder called documents. It's done, and one more folder called others. Yeah, so all the folders has been created. We'll shortly see a folder here called others. Yeah. Okay, so that is creating the folder. Now deleting the folder. Again, all these are, like setting the service, terminating the service and so on. So I'm not going to repeat those. And then let's say that we want to delete this dummy folder here. So I'll simply specify dummy, or you can get the dummy folder ID and specify it here. And then you can, for example, if I want, if I want to get the dummy folder ID, this is the one. So I can pass the folder ID here as well, instead of, using this method. Okay, so this method will basically delete the object. It could be a file, it could be a folder. And then I'm gonna run this. Okay, so it says that this has been deleted. And if we go here, we can verify that it has been deleted. Just bear in mind that once this is deleted, it is permanently deleted. It does not put it in the trash. Okay. Now coming to upload. So first, let's upload the light file. So within these folders, I've just put in some structure so that it's easier to demonstrate. So here is a file, Excel file of 32 KB only, and then this one as well. Yeah, so let's first upload this light file into expense folder data, and then this is gonna be expense data. So we want to upload it into expense data. And this is a small file, so we will not be able to see the progress that is happening. But you should get a status here, okay? So looks like it completed. It says that last uploaded ID is this, and then this status is completed, and down here as well you can see it's completed. And if you go in here, you'll see that it's a basic file that has been uploaded. Now let's try and upload a more heavy file. So if I want to show you the size, 72 MB. Okay, just to show the progress bar that is gonna show down there. Okay, so we'll upload it to the same folder. I'm gonna just run this. And if you observe down here, you'll see that the progress is happening, which you can, like easily adapt it with the progress bar as well. But for now, just to keep it simple, I'm just painting it here. As you can see, you'll be able to see the percentage. It has been uploaded and the file it's uploading. So it's almost complete. See down here, it says completed, and it shows up here. Okay, so this file has been uploaded here, and this is the same file size that I showed you down there. Okay, so quickly I'll upload multiple other files within the folder called multiple files upload folder. So you can easily reuse this code. These are all different type of files as a demonstration. Let's upload this to a folder called other docs or others. I think we call it others. So others, let's upload it to others. And basically this code is gonna use the file system object, and then it's gonna loop through all the files within the folder, and then it's gonna call the upload function, which is here, and then it's gonna pass the parent folder ID and the file name it wants to upload. So this is a file name that gets while looping through the file. And then if you want to specifically upload just, for example, you can use this get extension name function to get the extension of the file, and then you can filter out, let's say you want to upload only the PDF files or Excel files, you can use that. But for now, I'm not going to filter out. I've commented this out, and then I'm going to upload this all the files within that folder to a folder called other. So if you go to others folder, there's nothing here. Now I'm going to run this code. This is going to be really quick, so it's not going to show the progress. So as you can see here, start printing that this file has been uploaded, and then you'll be able to see up here as well. These are the files that's getting uploaded. So these are very like small size files, so it's going fast, that's why. Okay, now let me quickly walk you through this upload file local function, which is using this local upload file method. And then you just simply need to initialize the service, and then you can specify where you want to upload it to and the file name you want to upload to. And then this function itself has the file validation function, which you can find it from here, Z functions non-API. So these are all collections of useful functions that you can utilize in any projects. And then here, this part is where it basically checks the library, what is the status. This particular method will return what is the current status. It will return the information, whether it is failed, completed, or it is waiting to be waiting for response, not started yet. And then if it is uploading, this will basically calculate total uploaded, and then to process. Yeah, so that will give us the percentage, uploading percentage. Okay, now we are done with upload. We'll quickly go through download as well. So for download, we want to download it to the within the same folder where this file is located. We want to download it to the downloads folder. So if I go back here and go to downloads folder, there's nothing here. Now let's download the SEBI file. Yeah. Instead of passing the ID, we'll find the ID by the file name. I'll come to like this, more about this, where if there is like more than one file with the same name, then we might want to filter more specifically by adding more conditions. So this will check if the destination folder exists, start a drive service, and then using the drive service is gonna run this download file function or method. And then this is the download file ID, destination folder where you want to download. In this premium, premium version, you have option to rename the destination file as well, or you can leave this. So if you leave this part as well, it's gonna work. If you call like this as well, it's gonna work. It will directly download as the original source file name. Otherwise, you can also specify like this. And then again, this part is exactly the same. It's basically going to check the status. Okay, the only thing I'll add here is two events just to make sure that it shows the status. Okay, now let's try this. I'm gonna go here and then run this. So you'll see down there that the status will change in a bit once the download starts. 1327. The download is faster. Again, it is based on your internet. It is downloading at the moment, not completed yet. It's just completed now. Okay, so if I open this, yeah, now we can check updating the file. Okay, so updating the file is basically it's gonna update the existing file metadata, all the data within that. But the file ID is not going to change, but the file name will get changed based on the source file. So I'm going to upload this file. Quickly going back to upload, I'm going to upload this file, and then I'm going to update this file. Okay, so if we go here, it's saying hello. If I go into this file, give me one moment. So this one is saying hola. Now let's try and upload this. So again, same method, the ID, getting the ID using the file name, and then this is checking if the file exists to upload, starting the drive service, and then disconnecting here. This part is basically looping through and checking the status, and it sleeps for 0.1 seconds here. Okay, so let me try this, and I'll quickly go here. In a bit, you'll see a notification from Google. Okay, so it's saying that this file, I do not have access. Let me refresh this. Now it has replaced that particular file. Okay, so let me open this file. Okay, now this is saying hola. So you can also now replace or update the file. Okay. And then now this one is to move the file. So for example, let's say that we want to move this file. We want to move this file from this file is currently in expense data, and let's say we want to move it to documents folder, which is blank at the moment. You can use this as well. So start the drive service, disconnect using the drive service, call the move object method, and then this is a target folder ID. So this is where we're gonna move it. Okay, so let's try this. Move. This one is moving by ID. Okay. F5, and if you come here, you'll see that it has moved that file from here. Okay, now you can also move the file using the query. There are like lots of query options, which I'll share more examples, as well as the link where you can use as a reference. For example, in this one, we're saying that the query's name is equal to this file, and then you can specify where you want to move it. So for example, if I go to others folder, and let's say that I want to use this particular file, I want to search for this file where the name is equal to this, and then you can move it to documents folder. Again, drive service, move object, get file by this. Here you have to specify query, whereas this one is ID, and then you can specify the query you're running, and then the target. Okay, I'm gonna run this. F5. It says move successfully, found one file. So if there's more files, it's gonna tell you that it cannot move because there are more files with the same name. And if I go to documents folder, you'll see that it's moved the file. Okay, now coming to creating permissions. So you can, the use case I think here will be, you can, if you have, like lots of users you have to give access to, separate access based on the folder and the files and so on. You can upload and directly give access dynamically. Again, all these functions can be clubbed together. You can, call many different methods. Here you can continue calling different methods. even the sheets method. Later on, I'll show how to combine them together. Okay, so now let's give permission to these files. So for example, let's say, let me choose an easier file name. So that's, does not matter though, but so same file, sample file under .pdf. At the moment, if I go here, it says it's not shared. So let's try and give this. I'll give this here, start a service, create permission. Object ID is, we're looking up the object ID for sample1.pdf. And then the type is user, and then you can give, so you can use these options, group, domain, anyone. So if you want to give a user access, you're going to specify user here, writer, what sort of role you want to give it to, and then the email ID. And then you can specify this as NA for now. And I'm going to run this F5. And here you'll get the permission ID. So if you automatically create this, then you can have like your small database where you log the email ID associated with, you know, the permission ID, so that you can relate and map them later. Because you cannot pull the list of the users who have access to that particular file. Okay, only the permission ID. So here you can see that it has now, the owner is me, and then this is the user at the moment. Now one more example would be to add anyone. Here is the example. Let me do this. So anyone will have a read access. Okay, and let me remove this part now, and F5. So this one is basically saying that give access to anyone. The permission type is anyone. And here you don't have to specify the email ID is NA. Yeah. And if I change this, you'll see that anyone with the link will have access to this file. Okay, now we can use this particular method basically to get the list of all the permissions for the file. Okay, so we'll continue to use the same file to demonstrate this. For this, we will pull all the permissions for this particular file. Okay, so basically this is going to return an array, and then this will loop through. If there is a permission associated with this file, then it's gonna basically go to this particular sheet. Let me make this smaller. So this Google Sheets, Google Drive sheet, and then it will activate, clear all the contents, and then print the headers. Here we'll print the headers, and then this is gonna list all the permissions which is returned from the request. Okay, so let me run this. Okay, so these are the, like all the permissions associated with this file. This is the owner, that will be me, and then this is related to anyone who have access, and then this one is for the email ID that we give at first, which is this one. Yeah, so let's say that we want to remove this access, access given to anyone with link. So I'm going to come back here. There is this method, delete permission. So I'll say remove this permission from this particular file. I'm going to run this. So if I go here now, you see this is available now to anyone with a link. So if I come back here and run this delete permission, it should be gone anytime now. Yeah, so it's gone. Similarly, if you want to remove this particular user, you have to specify the ID. Okay. So coming back here, I'll specify the ID here. Sorry, this ID. Okay, this does not return the data. So if we click here, at the moment it says not shared. Okay, so that is pretty much from the permissions. You can use this to create permissions, list all the permissions associated with the file, and also to delete the permission. Now in this part, I will demonstrate how to list all the files and folders within within the Google Drive. So um, first we'll try some examples. Again, like I mentioned, it has more attributes now. I think this button here is associated with this. So let me first run this. At the moment, basically starting the drive service, and this is saying using the drive service, run this function, list files and folders, and it's saying maximum size, items to be returned in one page is 100, and then I want to bring, only one page, okay? Load one page. So I'm gonna run this. Now it return me all the files in that particular user drive. So these are all the IDs, the names, parent ID, created time, modified time. So there are more attributes now. The size, meme type, you can query using all this information, and then owned by me. And here it should be there should be some shared files. So these are shared files. So it's owned by me is false, shared it true, and then as you can see here. And if there are any file in trash, then you'll be able to see here. This is the web content link, which you can directly share. It will automatically download the file if you open this link. So for example, if you go here, this is because there are multiple accounts located here in this particular Chrome. That's why I'm not able to access. But if you only have one account, then you should automatically download. And then this is the file to to view. Okay. And then if there are any description, it should pull the information here. So for example, let me add a description. This is a sample description. Okay, so if I refresh this now, it says this is sample description. Okay, so it will pull that information as well. Like I've said in the beginning, earlier we only had like a default of 100 in the free version, but here there is no limit as such. You can bring in as much as possible. At the moment, I don't have enough file here to demonstrate that, but so let's say that I put in lots of examples here. For example, if you have let's say that 4,000 files, you can specify about 900 to 1,000 here to be in one page, and then you can specify 4 page, 5 page, and so on. So you can, once the it will keep gathering all the files needed to display in pull in back here for you. So for example, if you specify 900 here and then you run this, it will bring up to 900 in one page. It will try to gather that data, and then it will do it at least for 4 times. As long as it returns the data, it's gonna go forward for multiple page. Okay. And then once it brings that information, it's gonna check if there's data. If it is, it's gonna clear this data, and then these are the headers. It just prints that headings. Okay. And then this part is basically printing the headers. This is the array of all the strings, and then this part is basically transposing the array that has been returned here, and then printing it to A2, range A2. Okay. Again, if you want to loop through each item, you can use this alternate method here as well. So for example, if I remove this, and run this now, it'll print all the information here as well. So in case you're not using Excel, let's say that you're trying this in Access database, you can print this information and populate this maybe in the tree view in your database tables. Okay, now more examples on excuse me, on using the query. So if you go to this page, there will be lots of examples that you can utilize. So these are all the how you want to query the files in Google Drive. Okay, so let me demonstrate some of them. First is this in parent. So let's say that you want to pull in all the files in a folder. So for example, in a data folder, and then we have data folder, we have expense data, we have documents, so, and then others. So let's say that we want to bring in all the files in this particular folder only. You can specify, you can use this query. Okay, so I'm saying, okay, bring in all the files where this particular ID is the parent. Okay, so I'm gonna disable this. This is the query execution example, saying that the max page size is gonna be 100, and then total page to query is this one, and then query example. Okay, so similarly, like if you have more files that you're expecting to return, you can specify more here. I'm gonna run this now, and then now as you can see, these are all in the same parent, and these are the files in that folder. Okay, let's try another example. Now if you want to bring in a specific meme type, file type, by this you can query as well. If you want to uh, try querying, like specific email ID, you can also do that. Yeah, so these are two files where this particular email ID, user ID, has a right access to the file. Okay, so it can be useful, and this one you can directly find if there is any files which is shared with me, and maybe the name is this. Yeah, so it will return you the data if it is available. Share with me, and the name contains this. So apparently there's no file like this. Let me try another example. In fact, so again, this is the same example. You can also query by modified time. Just remember that this is all based on UTC time zone. So just be mindful of that. If you want to find, like file specific to the name, you can directly use this. So for example, earlier I was trying to find VBA course, this one. You can specify name is equal to this. So lookup ID function uses this query basically, where like you specify a name and then it pulls the ID, like using this table information. So let's try this. Yeah, so it returned two files with the same name. Okay. And then this one here, you can filter out by meme type, and then basically example of where you can query two types, where the meme type is a folder, and then it's located in trash. Okay, so that will be pretty much on the listing all the files and folders. If you have any questions, again, please comment or reach out to me. And then this is example of more information about this particular function. And this one is again using this particular function, which is list files and folders. This is all list files and folders. So when we call the lookup object ID by name, you pass the name of the file, and then this query basically like try to find the file. So if there are more than one file with the same name, then it says that there are more than one file. So if you have to like query by applying a better filter, this is where you're gonna come and update this particular function. Okay, so that will be pretty much a quick walkthrough for Google Drive methods. Now we will move on to Google Sheets. Again, Google Sheets is pretty much straightforward, but I'll give a like a detailed walkthrough so that you are able to implement this easily for your project. Okay, so once you click on code samples _ sheets, you'll be able to see all the sample codes for Google Sheets. follow the same approach. First, create the connection, terminate the connection, and then you can simply use this object to create, like all the methods associated with Google Sheets. So let's first start off by creating a new Google Sheet or file. So this method simply call, pass on the name of the file you want it to be. So let's call this demo for now, and let's run this. So you'll see a demo file here has been created, and then there automatically by default sheet 1 is added a tab name. Okay, now let's say that this example here demonstrates creating a new file called expense2, and then you don't always have to pass like the methods in this way. The good thing about this is that you specify a variable and then you call a method, so when it returns a value you can use that to to utilize it somewhere else, or to track it or log it, right? So for example, in this creates the sheet service, and then it creates a new Google Sheet, and then here it adds a new tab called data, and then it deletes the tab called sheet 1, the default tab, and then it terminates the file, the service, and then it initializes the drive service here in the same module. So this way you can combine all this together, and then it uses this move object to move the new file that was created to a folder called expense. So let's try this. I'll go to data. We'll create a file. By default, the file is added to the main parent folder. So we'll create a file and then move it to this expense data folder. We'll call this expense data, and then we'll add a new tab called data within this particular file, and then we'll delete the default sheet. And then we'll move this file to this folder. Okay, so I'm gonna run this. So there's expense data there. It got moved, and if I go in here, here's expense data. And if I open this particular file, you'll see that the new tab has been added successfully, and then the default tab has been deleted. Okay, so this is example of how you can combine Google Drive methods as well as the sheet methods, and then different ways to call it. You can simply call it in this fashion as well if you don't want to pass it, like x is equal to similar to this. Okay, you can call in this fashion as well, or you can directly call the method in this fashion, or with this particular object dot underscore this dot add new method. You can also directly call in this method. If you use this approach, then you don't have to put a bracket like you did here, like it's mentioned there. So that's one more example. Let's try a simpler ones. First, so we've already tried creating a new file, which is create new Google Sheet, and then clear values. Let's try this. So let's say that in this tab we have data, some sort of a data like this, and we want to clear the data, let's say from A1 till F12. So you can specify a range like we do in Excel, and then we're saying the name of the file is going to be this, and then the range is going to be this, the range we want to clear. Okay, so in Google Sheet methods, if you just specify like the column like this, it's going to delete all the data till F column, till the last row. Okay, so if you specify exactly the range, then it will just impact or affect that particular range. So starting the service and then terminating the service, calling the clear values method, and then it's This is the ID, so looking up the ID again using the file, and then this is the range to clear. Okay, now let me run this. Yeah, so the data has been cleared off. Now similarly, let's say that we want to delete excuse me, certain columns or rows. We can also do let me just highlight some of this so that we are able to see this impact. So let's say we want to delete rows and columns. So let's first delete the row. In this, you just need to specify the starting row and end row. And here you have the dimension type is supposed to be rows. And then name of the tab or the sheet, and then the file name. Okay. So in this example, it's gonna delete, let's say from 15 till 17, we want to delete rows. So starting from 15 till 17. Let me run this. Okay, so it deleted row number, like the ones we've highlighted. Now let's try and delete column, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so specify here columns, and then 3 and 4. Expense data, again, same file, the name of the sheet is, or the tab is data. So let me just highlight here and run this. Yeah, so it deleted that column as well. So you can easily, implement that. Okay, now let's take a look at append data examples. First, I'll run this and then I'll quickly walk you through the samples that has been set up. Gonna run this and it will append this data. So 3 rows and columns of data. And as you can see, this is automatically converted to a number, which is a decimal type. Just keep that in mind. So first is the, to the array that you can send for append data. Along with this, you'll need to specify one thing is the culture. For example, this is basically like the regional settings that you need to put in your computer. This helps to determine the date format that needs to be applied. So if you don't specify, then English US is going to be considered. So you can find more reference from this link. I will. It's already there within this code here. And then, so for example, if you want your dates format to be based on the US formats, then you use this. And then, or if it is going to be UK or Great Britain, India, Hungary, and so on, you'll find more lists of countries here. Okay, and then as far as specifying the format, I will walk you through, but here for long date format, you'll need to specify a D. For a short one, you just need to, lowercase d, okay? And then here, this is where you specify for the number of columns that you specify here, it's 1 to 3. The data type config, it starts from 0 to 0 as an index. So specify the data type. If you do not specify the data type, it will automatically consider it as a string. So in the process of appending, it might change the number to string as well. So just keep that in mind. The range where it's going to append, you need to specify a point. One is the tab name, the sheet name, and then the column and the row. So if you specify A1, it's going to take column A as like the key to identify the last row with data, or the insertion point. So if you have a data here, it will insert the data here without overriding this. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And then here we're starting the sheet service, and then terminating it here, calling the append data method, the name of the file, the range, the data that needs to be appended, and then this is the data type that we specify here. And the data type is you can specify string, boolean, date. So format and specifier, I'll talk more about that. default string. You can also specify a number, okay? And the number is basically converted to decimal data type. Okay, so this example here is more practical way of uploading the data directly from the sheet. So I'll go back here. Here is the date, short date, and then again this is in UK format at the moment, DD, MM, and YYYY. And here is a long date format, another date format, a string data type, a boolean, and a number data type. Yeah, both in negative and positive numbers. Quickly, what is going on here is basically this code is saying, okay, find the last row within this particular sheet, and then set the source data as starting from here till whatever last row is, F and last row. So if there is more data set, it's going to automatically pick that up like this. Yeah. And then this part is basically restating the data so that it can be constructed in this fashion. So this part is doing that. So it's redeclaring the variable, and then based on the number of cells and cells or columns and rows that has been, in this particular range, and then it assign this data to vdata array, which is set up vdata here. Yeah. And so basically this part is restating the data to that acceptable format, and then this part setting the culture, this part is setting the format. So if we look at these columns, first one is date. I'm saying this data type is going to be date, and then the format is going to be a short date. Another date with the full time. This is going to include include time if it is there in the cell. Just be mindful that the date with the time is automatically converted to GMT or UTC. Need to check that. And then this one is going to be a text or a string, and then string, and then boolean, and a number data type. Okay, and then again appending it to the same column A, and then this starting the service and calling the same method and the same way. Here there's two, I'll add more information to this. There's two type of value input option that you have. One is as per the raw data, and one is how the user actually goes and type in the Google Sheet. Okay. And then this is basically to calculate how much time it takes to append the data. So about writing about almost 5 million cells takes about 4 minutes. So if you have like a million cells to synchronize, from Excel to Google Sheets, retrieving is much faster. But if you upload, it will take about, because in the process, it also converts the data again before it appends. So that's why it takes a little bit of time, about a minute or so for 1 million cells or so to be uploaded. Okay, so let's try and run this and see how it looks like. Let me just replicate this further. Okay, and coming back here, for now, let me just clear up this data set. And I'm going to run this now. So here is our data set. This is in the US format, though here it is in the Excel. It's in the UK format. Here it's in the web. It's in the US format because of the culture that has been set up to here to US. Yeah. So if I set this to GB, and then if I rerun this, it's appended in that, data type and format specified. Okay, so that is how it works. So that's on appending the data. I'll try and do more demos as to how we can, stress testing and that sort of, more examples down the line. But for the sake of time, I'm gonna, keep it a little bit shorter. Now coming to updating the range, this example shows here in a very similar way. Here it's updating the non-adjacent cells. So for example, within the sheet, you want to only write, okay, just upload this selected cells, for example. Then you can use this method. Another example is here. Let's say that you want to apply a filter and then, upload just relevant data. That sort of is useful in that sort of use cases. So here is basically whatever data is selected, it's gonna create that into an array, and then for each of the value that you want to write, you need to specify first is the value, and then second is the address that you want to update, and then the third is the data type that you want to use for updating these cells. Okay, so for example, let's say that I want to update this cell, and then this cell. Yeah, so this, and which one was it? This one. So let's say I want to update these 3 cells in here, okay, for the same address. Then you can use this example. So redeem selection.count, and then it's going to loop through each of the selection, and it's going to create this dynamic array, and then it's going to update this particular sheet. You just need to specify the tag name, and then start the service, and the service, call this method, this file, the tab name, and the data that is to be, updated. So I'm gonna come here and just back up this cell so that we can do a quick comparison of the updated cells. And now I'm gonna run this particular for these 3 cells. Okay, so this particular basically is converting, current cell dot address, it replaces $sign with a blank starting 1. Yeah, now if we go back to web here, you'll see that the number have changed for this 3 particular range. Okay, so that's how you can utilize this method. You can do it for, a whole lot more cells. It doesn't have to be just few cells like this. Okay, and then we have so that was basically for non-related cells. It could be any random cells that you pass into the array. Non-adjacent cells too. So yeah, you can also pass like we did the append method first, like this. So similarly, we can also do in this fashion. Okay. And then you can specify the culture, you can specify if you're going to be using your data type as a date, you can specify in this fashion. Okay, so I'm not going to rerun this because it's the same approach. Now retrieving the data is simple, you just need to specify the range. So here I'm saying that, okay, pull in everything starting from A1 till F and whatever is the last data available in that particular sheet. So if I run this now, it's going to pull in all the data from this particular file and from this range, and then it's going to print this data in A1. of current sheet. Oh, here it is, Google Sheet. Okay, so I'm gonna run this. Okay, so it pull in all the data. You can pull in, like as long as Excel is able to accommodate those number of rows, you can pull in those. So again, Google Sheet has 5 million cells limitation. That's the maximum. It's not one particular sheet, but it's the file, like one file, 5 million cells. So just if you have more than, like what Excel can accommodate, as when you import the data, you need to watch out for that. So that's on retrieving the data. Again, here's another sample that I've added here just in case you don't want to print this directly to Excel. Maybe you're using this in Access database, then you can use this method to get the data set and then, write it to the other objects. Now adding the tab, we already did this example, but basically in this file, I want to add a test2 tab. Just run this. Then it will add a new tab here, yeah? And then print the name of sheets. Sometimes you might want to check if the sheet exists. So you can use this method to run and see if that particular sheet exists. And then this one is to delete the tab. So I'm gonna run this and it should delete this particular tab here. So delete tab, file name, and the name of the tab. This one. Yeah, so it got deleted. Again, get tab ID by name. This one you can use, basically you can use this to pull in the tab ID, this particular tab ID, by specifying a name. Clear values, delete, we've tried this examples. Coming down here, updating range. This one is if you want to update, like cells which are continuous. For example, you can use this. It's exactly as append method, append data method. It's just that in append method, it will always append the data, like finding the last new row to be appended. But in update range, you can specify which range to be updated. So let's say that in Excel, you do have a range, which is this, and you specify, okay, update this range. Let's say your VBA code has updated this range. You can specify to update this range in Google Sheet directly. So you can use this method for that. So this is the file range data you want to write to, and then this is the data type in the exact same fashion. Okay, so let me quickly demonstrate this. Again, setting the source range, which is A5 to F7. So A5 to F7, like this. Okay. Now let me go to Google Sheet. A5 to F7 here. Let me highlight so that we know the value actually got updated. So I'm gonna just put an X like this. And once we run this update method, basically it's gonna take this data and update that particular range in Google Sheet. Okay, so again, this is a source, restating the data to vData variable, reconstructing it in the format it's acceptable to append data array, and then setting up the culture, and then specifying the data type, and then specifying that, okay, starting this range, it's basically as if in a layman term, you're saying, okay, copy this data and paste it here like this. It's similar in that way. Okay, so coming back here, and I'm gonna execute this. Yeah, so it appended, updated this particular range. Okay, so let's say that you imported the sheet with just thousands of, cells with data. You can run the update and all this manipulation within VBA Excel, and then you can write back, using this update method as well. So that's one more example. And this one was, for example, with Excel VBA codes together. Basically filtering out the data, and then if there is the data, um, it basically loops through the visible cells, and then it update the non-adjacent cells example. So let me do this. Let me quickly give a demonstration of this as well. So F8, remove the filter with this particular sheet, find the last row with data, and then apply a filter. Okay, so first by date, and then region is US, and then department advertising, and then the items are books and supplies. Now, if there is a data like this, basically this now it's gonna, if there is the count is more than the filter count, or data count is more than one, then it's gonna basically create a range of visible cells here, and then it's gonna construct this vdata again, dynamic array, and it's gonna loop through. It's basically here, I think it's incrementing it by 10% as an example, and then getting that range, which is as you can see here, F837, and then it's assigning the data type to be a number, and then it increments the counter. And let me run this till here, and then we're saying, okay, this is going to be the data type, and it's looking up the ID, and then it continues to run, and then F5. Okay, so now if I go to this particular workbook, Google Sheet, you'll be able to see the data which has been written here to that particular range, because we use update non-adjacent cells update method here. Yeah. So if I copy this data, or I copy this data to Google Sheet, it will be the exact data that has been loaded. Okay, and then if you put in the wrong, like tab name, or let's say that there is no, let's say that your column is still G only and you specify H, then it's gonna error, something like that. So once you play more with this, you'll get some error like this. I've pasted some related errors like this, which will tell you that bad location and all means like subscription out of range, similar error in VBA. So I think that will be pretty much it. One last thing I will walk you through now is this time zone handler. This will always return the UTC time, irrespective of what time zone you've set in your computer. Okay, and then you can use read logs. When you run this read logs, it will basically print out all the. Let me quickly demonstrate that. So for the logs, is basically this particular. I've just created this, but you can modify it as per your requirement. It basically checks if this particular sheet exists. If not, it adds a new tab and then name it to that particular sheet name. And then it clears the data and then pull in the logs. So whatever execution you've done, it's basically gonna read the logs into this particular sheet. So for example, I just restarted this session, and then I ran this particular list of files and folders, and then this is the log for that. So for example, if we do just run a couple of Google Drive, and then let's say that I create a new folder called dummy1. And then if we go here, there should be a dummy1. If you come back and run this, it will say that okay, create a folder has been called, the internet access is available online, and then drive service is initialized or activated, and then it created a folder completed. So basically, you can also time it here as well. So if there is an upload process, then it's gonna take, it will show you a whole lot of logs, which if you need it, which I don't think, but this might be useful if there is an error that you want to keep track of, or for example, for like logging purpose, you can use this. Okay, so that's on the logging. I think that will be pretty much it. Down the line, I'll try and do more, use cases, examples, but this should be a good start, or a guide for you to utilize this Google APIs VBA library. And yes, if you have any suggestions or any questions, please do feel free to comment below, or feel free to reach out to me as well. So, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye bye.